Good morning, this is Jack from Charting Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Monday, the 17th of November. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers at chartingthemarkets.substack.com, and it's published on YouTube after a delay of 24 hours. All right, let's have a look at ES. Now, ES, we've given back at the moment some of the move up from Friday's low. I was explaining in the bigger picture yesterday why I'm expecting to see another leg up in this rally, lasting a day, maybe two. We may not see that, of course, although, of course, we could. We may not see that. We may come straight back to the low, but I got to say, the everything I'm looking at favors that, and it would be a sign of considerable weakness, I think, if we didn't do that. Obviously, we are seeing quite a lot of signs of weakness here, but I don't think it's as strong as that. So I'd be leaning towards some higher highs here and a rally going into later today or into tomorrow. Looking at NQ, thinking the same. RTY has been leading the way down. This has bounced. This was a bounce off the 3SD lower band. This was a bounce off a punch below the 3SD lower band. I'm expecting to see a little more. I'm wondering if an IHS might be forming here, although I'm not sure about that, but I'm thinking A, B, C. So leaning towards seeing that, and I would say we've got a weak 6-minute buy signal fixed here. And as weak signals go, this is one of the much stronger versions. So YM, the weak is actually, just to explain, because it didn't reach this line here, the 30 level, in the meantime. But actually, this is quite a well-formed signal, and I'm expecting it to make target. YM. Everything else was showing positive divergence on Friday morning, and we lost divergence across the board everywhere else. YM, we've got a very nice looking double top. That hasn't broken down yet, but we did see a close marginally below the daily middle band, I think. But I'll come to that on the bigger picture charts. Looking at DAX, I've redrawn this as a pretty decent looking falling wedge, which has broken up, and we've got a double bottom that's broken up. I don't know, this might eventually make the target, but at the moment it's failing back into the lows. No divergence there. ESTX hasn't retested Friday's low. We would get some positive divergence if we did that, but no obvious overall pattern here. Waiting to see what develops, but I'm looking out for a potential topping pattern to form. Okay, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Right, looking at the ES charts, we saw that was on Thursday. We saw a break below the daily middle band, and then we saw another close below it. We are holding so far the 50 DMA at 64.47, and we've had a couple of days of testing that, and we've closed above it both times, but not by much. So if we see that break, then that opens up this level here, which is a potential head and shoulder neckline. Although I have to say I'm not in love with either of the possible head and shoulder patterns. They're valid, but they're just not pretty. The left shoulder is so large it kind of looks like a hunch. But I'm mainly looking at the topping patterns here on IWM and on Dia. So SPX looks pretty much the same. I am wondering about a possible triangle here. The trend lines aren't bad for it. So if this is a triangle, then our warning will be that we'll get up into the 68.50 area and then we'll pull back a bit, and that would be a warning that we may well be about to head back and retest the all-time high. I think the head and shoulders, weak as it is still looking better than that. On the 50 DMA, you can see we opened below it and closed back above, so we've still got two tests and two closes above the 50 DMA as we've got here. If we were to see a break below the 50 DMA, it'll be the first time since it broke back above at the end of April. So again, that would be a pretty significant break and suggesting that we could see a larger retracement. Overall, I'm actually impressed with the bears here. This was November. My expectations weren't particularly high, even though the setup actually with the wedges was pretty good. But really, we spent 2 days. We spent 2 weeks softening up the path to the downside, and I'm thinking we may well follow through on that. Looking at the hourly charts, obviously we've got a wedge here, we've got a possible triangle which I'm watching here, and possible head and shoulders which I'm also watching here. If we see a hard breakdown on this, I haven't marked in the target here, but I'd be thinking of somewhere then about the 6300 6350 area. We will see how it goes. With that, we're getting pretty close to this possible head and shoulder neckline in the 6212 area. Yep, we'll see. All right, Qs. Qs, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal is fixed. All of these RSI 14 sell signals are on the way, but are not close to making target yet. If we see a decent move down, I'd be looking for those to at least make possible near miss targets. On Qs, we're obviously forming potential head and shoulders here, and actually that's broken down slightly. I haven't marked in the arrows because, as I said, I'm not in love with this pattern really. It's but the overall wedge setup is nice. The pattern's a little weak, but it's still perfectly valid. I've marked in the arrows here. This would have a target in about the 557 area. So we will see, and that's actually at a possible head and shoulder neckline, which I've got in about the 558 area, and I've got another one at 551. We will see how it goes. On Dia, of course, I had to redraw the wedge resistance trend line here. Wedge support trend line here because we reached the wedge resistance trend line again. We've got a very nice looking rising wedge here. It didn't quite break down on Friday, but what we did see was a close below the daily middle band. That was significant. That's something that didn't manage on the last move down. And even though, obviously, that was a lower low than this one was. So we will see. That looks significant. I'm thinking a little more rally here. And we'll see how it goes. Looking at the hourly chart, looks pretty damn good. Now, just to look at the 15 minutes, I don't think, no, we haven't got any divergence here we haven't got an open signal here on SPX, but we do have one on Qs. I don't think we've got one on Dia, but we have got another one on IWM. That's just more fuel to seeing another day for this rally, because those didn't make targets, even though the rally was very strong on Friday. All right, let's have a look at IWM. And, all right, looking at the daily chart here, we've got a nice head and shoulders here, and that is broken down already with a target in the 219.5 area. I'm quite liking that. Now, obviously, this gives us, on a decent pattern, a pretty good cutoff level where we're no longer looking for that target, and that is if we see a break over the right shoulder high at 246.38. That is where IWM needs to stay below in the event that we're not going down. You can see in terms of the daily bands, I was talking when we made this low here, I was talking about seeing, a significant rally because we hit the 3SD lower band. We hit the 3SD lower band again with a slight punch below on Friday. And again, we're seeing a rally. I'd expect that normally to last another day or two. With a possible target and another test of the week daily middle band. What's the point of all these rallies here? Well, generally speaking, when you're going to see a decent retracement, you just need to loosen things up a bit. You need to open up the bands, and you need the daily middle bands to start turning down. This is what it's doing on IWM, which has been leading to the downside here. We're now getting the daily middle band pointing down, and if we continue to stay below it, that will accelerate to the downside, and the Bollinger Bands are widening. This means that if we can on the next leg down, it's going to be far harder to hit the 3SD lower band. And that sort of has warmed. You see, these are basically warm-up moves for a move down. Doesn't mean we have to see the breakdown, but it is very, very promising. Looking at the hourly charts, this was a very nice dual pattern here, and I've drawn it in with both patterns here. This is the head and shoulders, which has broken down, and we've also got a possible bull flag. Now, I think this move down here, it doesn't entirely invalidate the bull flag setup, but I won't be taking the bull flag setup seriously unless we get over this right shoulder high at 246.38. So this could still be a bullish underthrow, but the obvious read here is that we've got a head and shoulders which is broken down with a target considerably below, and then after a rally, we're probably going to go there. We will see. We've also got, in the short term, an RSI 14 buy signal fixed here, well short of target, and decent support for seeing another day of rally today. We will see. Looking at DAX, we've closed back below the daily middle band. So we only managed to spend 2 days above it, 1 day above it. We never actually confirmed the break above. So again, looking for the downside here, and I'm watching this very nice looking topping pattern here, which is an extremely nice double top. If that sees a breakdown, then we'd have a target which would be at about the 21.8 to 800 area to 21.850. Looking at Nikkei. Nikkei, we're still testing the daily middle band. We have seen 3 tests in the last 7 days or 8 days, and we will see how it goes today. But I'm liking this for a breakdown. Do we have an obvious topping pattern at the moment? No. We will see if one develops. All right, great. Let's have a look at DX. Now, DX, I was talking about this yesterday and saying this is a very likely bull flag, which I'm expecting to see break up towards a retest of the high. Since then, it has broken up. I'm now expecting this to head back to the high unless we're forming a larger bull flag, in which case we go up a bit higher, make a lower low, and then go back up to the high. But I think either way, a retest of this high here is likely. Looking at the other currency pairs, this is a bear flag on euro, which is breaking down, which supports DX going up. GBP USD, this is a bear flag, which hasn't broken down, but still, just by being there, supports the way up. USD, the way up on DX, of course, the way down on GBP. USD, JPY, uncertain. USD CAD, this is an IHS. If this breaks up, then again, that supports the upside on DX. So I'm quite liking the upside on DX. So I'm expecting that to make target. ZB, we've got an IHS which broke up here and failed. And has failed entirely. So sorry, I hadn't actually marked that in. All right. This could be a double bottom, or it could be a consolidation triangle. In which case, I'm not sure it has a strong lean as to whether this would break up or down. We haven't quite made the target for this head and shoulders here. Leaning a bit more towards the downside, but I'm thinking on the bigger picture, we're likely to be heading down. I am wondering if we might possibly retest this high first, which is why I'm hesitating there. We shall see. ZN, we've got no potential reversal pattern to take this up, but I've got to say, we've got a nice looking double top that could take us down. Hasn't broken down yet, but if that breaks down, then I'm thinking this would go considerably lower into, what would that be? That would be about the 110.15 area. So this could be a significant move lower, and we could well see that on ZB as well. Right, CL, we've got a bit of a contradiction here. This is a pretty obvious bull flag which has survived this latest slowdown with a bullish underthrow. Marginally high for a bull flag, but not unduly so. If this breaks up, I'd be looking for a retest of this high here, which is in about the 61.80 area. But we've got rising wedges breaking down on both HO and RBOB. But possibly, if we retest the highs, these short-term highs on these two, we could end up with three double tops. At the moment, we've got a decent-looking head and shoulders forming on HO and a poor quality head and shoulders forming on RBOB. Looking at NG, I would say we've got quite a bit of negative divergence on the daily chart here, and I'm thinking we may well be topping out. We've also got a rising wedge which is breaking down. So action to the downside, but looking for a reversal pattern, which could involve a retest of the high, but I've got to say we've got a very nice looking head and shoulders, possible head and shoulder neckline here in the 4.230 area. So sorry, 260 area. Yeah, 260 area. So we'll see how that develops. We've got a couple of options there, but I'm thinking overall lean is now down. GC, I was talking about this yesterday on the bigger picture, and we had the head and shoulders here, and that failed, and the one on SI failed, and the one on Palladium failed. All three of these failed. So now these all have targets based back at a retest of the high, and we've seen that on SI, but we haven't seen it yet on GC or Palladium. Now, I'm thinking that we're heading back to the high here unless we're forming a larger bull flag, in which case, because this effectively acts, a failed head and shoulders effectively acts as a bull flag pattern. But if we're seeing a larger bull flag pattern form, we could see A, B, C, and a lower low. And I'm thinking we might be looking at that. Possible double top setup here, although I would say on the RTH chart, on the spot price, this is a lower low. And it looks as though we may be forming a bull flag there too. Palladium, This could be a larger bull flag as well. So we've got a nice looking IHS here. That could break up. We could go directly back up to the highs. If we don't, then we could see a lower low before we go back up and likely retest the highs. On platinum, I would say this is kind of backing the downside first scenario because this is a very nice looking flag, and we made this low here after I'd drawn in this trend line, and that was a significant indication this is a bear flag, and it's going to break down with a target at a retest this low in the 1480 area. Looking at HG kind of looks like a bear flag breaking down, or ABC at least. So leaning towards that, although I would say normally I wouldn't really strongly associate the move on copper with anything that's happening on precious metals. Looking at the other commodities, KC. KC, we are seeing, I'm not entirely sure what we're seeing here. We could be seeing a bullish triangle form. Mainly, I'm wondering whether we're going to retest this high here at 415 before we go down, which is probably what we're going to do on the bigger picture. Don't need to do that. We had a tiny bit of positive divergence here. Honestly, it was so slight I didn't mark it in. But if this was a buy signal, it would be getting pretty close to the target now. I'm keeping an open mind. I am wondering about this retest. Looking at sugar, we've got a double top with double bottom, which is broken down. Obviously, we've been watching this for many days, or at least subjectively. This is broken up with a target in the 15.43 area, and I'm leaning towards it making that target. We will see how it goes. We're seeing a bit of a pullback here. That's not uncommon after a pattern like this breaks up. CC has gone down and retested the low. We do have possible bottoming action here, but I wouldn't be at all surprised to see this just break down further. This has been on a slide for a while after a big break of support in about the 6,300 area. Looking at CT, possible falling megaphone forming. We had a bear flag and it's broken down and retested below. This could be a double bottom, or it could just be sliding down further, which I'm kind of leaning towards. Lumber, we retested this low. We had a nice looking double bottom here, and then we slid down further. I was saying this might do this. Now, we've still got a 60-minute buy signal fixed, and sooner or later that's probably going to make target. But bigger picture, I've got a pattern that's broken down with a target a long way below on a huge bear flag that's been forming. So I'm leaning overall to the downside. ZW, I've rolled this into March, and I rolled cotton into March, and I rolled obviously all the oils into January. This is a rising megaphone that's broken down, and this looks like a bull flag forming, and I think probably because it is a bull flag forming. So this is leaning towards seeing a retest this high, possibly to make the second high of a double top. On corn, we finally made this IHS target after so long it had almost dropped off the chart. But it's finally made that target, so we will see how it goes from here. We could be making a short-term high. Got some negative divergence on the daily chart, I think. On soy, we've gone a bit higher here. Could continue higher. I am wondering whether the Chinese are actually starting buying. I'm not seeing much on the news about them buying the soybeans, 12 tons of this year, which they apparently had promised to sell, but Besant is now saying that the agreement has not yet been finalised. We'll see. If that purchase doesn't come through, I don't suppose that's going to be good for soy prices. On ZL, this looks like a bear flag which is starting to break down. Keeping an open mind, this could alternatively be a double bottom, but at the moment, this breakdown under this trend line here is looking a bit bearish. Live cattle has reached the target area for this double top that broke down. Hasn't reached the bottom of the target area, but it has reached the top of it. This could be a double bottom, and I'm watching that with interest. No current divergence. HE, this is this is very likely a falling wedge, and it's quite a nice falling wedge. These break up 70% of the time. Might see a bullish underthrow first, may well see a retest of this low, but these tend to break up and deliver a decent retracement. So I'm watching that and expecting this to break to the upside. Okay, let's have a quick look at questions. Yeah, George, I use the old link for a while and then I change it. What I'm doing is in the email every morning, you'll get the link for the one the next day. So if I'm changing it, what I'll do is I'll change it, then I'll put the new link in that email. So always get the link out of the email. How low could silver go? Let's have a quick look. Silver, technically, we've got a double top here, which could see a sustained break below the 45 35.5 area. We'd be looking for a target in the 37.5 area. I'm not expecting it to go that low. What I'm be leaning towards more is some sort of a bull flag set up here, and silver maybe getting down into the 44-45 area. I'm not really expecting to see it go any lower than that. I'm not seeing any support for it going lower than that on the other metals. So I am seeing some support, obviously, for making a lower low, but I'm not even sure about that. It's silver has had the strongest move up and is performing pretty well at the moment. It maybe we'd make a higher low and go up directly from that. All right, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap. Everyone take care, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow morning.